Welcome to the Penguin Magic Podcast. I'm your host, Erik Nick. Joining me as always, my good buddy and co-host, Nick LaCapo. Nick, how you doing?
Good. Just boring early morning here. Nobody needs to know all the details, but I just had to drop the dog off for grooming. So there you go. That's what I'm up to.
So, normally both of our dogs are in the background here, yelling, wanting to be a part of the podcast. Mine are over at their mom's house right now. So, but Chihuahuas don't need grooming the way
Archie doesn't like the podcast, so he's boycotting the podcast at this point.
And then, did you hear our technical director Nate's getting a dog?
Yes, I did hear that. Nate's getting a dog. I have a feeling it might have something to do with our dogs influencing his little ones there. So yeah.
So
Nate is getting a dog.
At some point, we're gonna have a whole Penguin Magic pack.
Why have you not interviewed Nate?
Oh, that's such a good idea.
Nate is one of the most. Yeah, I mean, like he has edited every Penguin Live for the most part. You know, for not all of them, but 300 of them?
Almost every one of them.
Yeah, he'd be a fascinating one to interview, actually.
Yeah. It's for podcast listeners, he's our technical director in the studio. So me, him, and Mandy, our chief operating officer, are sort of responsible for a lot of keeping the tech running. And Nate is sort of the lead on that. And he mans the cameras, he edits the videos. He's
a non-magician, right? Like even though he's watched more magic than probably people listening to this podcast, he probably couldn't show you a card trick. Maybe he's got one up his sleeve. I'm not sure, but
has strong opinions about magic because he's seen so much.
Yeah, no, he'd be I would definitely figure out the questions you want to ask him and send him ahead of time, because I'm sure he would have to think through some stories that he has, which are they're probably incredible, whatever the stories are.
Definitely the Nate story hour is going to be epic.
Yeah.
All right,
that's a good one.
It's a great idea. A big week for tricks this week, man. So sponge balls finally dropped.
Sponge balls? What if?
This is actually. I got one here. Boop, boop.
I don't have mine. Do I have? No, I don't. I don't have mine. No, they're great.
These are. You know what's crazy is I never thought. I never thought I'd work for Penguin Magic, but B, I never thought I would utter the phrase, "These are the best sponge balls I've ever used."
It's fun, and we all know what they are, right? Yeah. We don't have to describe sponge balls, do we?
No, I don't. Yeah, no, they're tiny, they're round, they squeeze.
No, they're great.
I mean, so good.
Yeah, I think we've all probably used them before, and it's one of those things where you've probably had some sort of philosophical stance on why you shouldn't do sponge ball magic, and then you take them out of your case and you do them, and you're like, wow, why did I stop doing sponge balls? Because they're so strong. And then there's people that live and die by them. But the good news is now is that Penguin has incredible sponge balls in all colors, and you can buy them in packs of 4 and 50. Is that what it is?
Yeah. So there's 1 inch, 1.5 inch, 2 inch, and then 3 inch only comes in red. But we spent a long time on these. We had multiple different samples come in, and different people in the office played with them. And these are the ones that ended up winning out. And they're this, we say this in the demo, but they're this really wonderful combination of soft and springy. I mean, there's video in the demo, and I think there's a reel floating around Instagram or TikTok or something of me performing for this little girl. And you can see that when she opens her hand, the balls they spring out. They really, it's a real pop.
They're really nice. I mean, I can only judge them against the horribly dirty, disgusting sponge balls that I bought a long time ago that I admittedly still use to this day. But now I have brand new ones, and You know, if you were to get into the really fine details with sponge balls,
Mhm.
I think you'd find that these check a lot of boxes in terms
Yeah.
of how they react and how compressible they
Mhm.
are. They're really you're top of the line. I mean,
Yeah.
I have nothing
Mhm.
I could say about them. One thing I found
Yeah.
interesting is that of course we have our Penguin Magic top 20, which is like the best selling items
Mhm.
of the week or of the day. I think it updates every 12 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, and I think this is could have been guessed. I don't think it's too far of a stretch, but it appears that the most popular size and color of sponge ball is any
Two
guess?
2-inch red 4-pack?
2-inch red 4-pack. I don't even see another color in the top 20. So it looks like literally everybody is just buying 2-inch reds.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
There's
mean, why
already
not?
there's already
So
a review up for them too.
yeah,
Uh,
there is one there.
yeah, yeah.
Wait, what
Fi
colors we have? Blue, green, orange, red, yellow.
yeah.
That's what we got. Blue, green,
Red
orange, red, yellow.
red, yellow, blue, green, orange, red. But I know other colors are coming because I think we're gonna have like even in the demo, you can see there's like some purple and some black that I think are on the way. Uh,
So, and here's the other thing. Let me do some quick research right here. Is
mhm.
it this one? No, it is this one. I'm currently in Penguin Magic doing the quick thing here. So the 50 pack would be perfect if you wanted to do Tom Stone's Benson burner routine.
Ooh.
Do you know this one?
I don't know his Benson burner routine.
I think
It's a Benson bowl routine, correct?
it's in his book, Vortex.
Mhm.
Okay. And it's a Benson bowl routine, which is it's basically like you got a bowl and three balls, and
Uh-huh.
they vanish and reappear underneath the bowl, and it's repeated a bunch of times. But then at the end, he picks up the bowl, and it not only is it filled with sponge balls, it feels like he picks up the bowl, and the sponge balls keep like erupting from the bowl somehow. It's really there's a clip of it. So Vortex, Tom Stone's Vortex is a book, but it's also a download on Penguin that we filmed with him. So you can just search for it on Penguin. I think there's a clip of him performing it. I just know when that came out, it was like everybody was like trying to do that. That one moment alone would be so killer on like a promo video, or when you see
Yeah.
him do it, you're like, I really need to do that. So with the 50 pack, before it was a pain in the butt to like assemble that many sponge balls, but with
Mhm.
the 50 packs, much easier.
It's great. Yeah, there's not a lot else to say about it other than the tutorial was really fun to do. Uh, I teach an old Frank Garcia, the 2 in the hand, 1 in the pocket routine. I teach some pretty simple basics, like I mean, everything you need to do to get going right away. And then coming out, we have a lot of other sponge tutorials in the works. I don't know when they're gonna drop, but I know that there's a Penguin Live coming out soon that has some pretty serious SpongeBob magic in it, and then, a certain, uh, gentleman from Spain will be teaching a bunch of stuff soon, so it's really I think it's gonna be an exciting time. So get your sponge balls, start working on them, and do that, and get ready to blow people
I
away.
might even film my silly old routine
Oh,
and
you
throw it
should.
up there at some point. Yeah.
You should.
I rock the purse frame pretty good. Pretty
Oh,
good.
that's excellent. Uh, another big hit this week, Firefly by Titanus
Hey,
is
I love the light tricks. I love those tricks.
I
You
bought
picked it
one.
up, right? You got it, right?
Yeah, I got it, and I'm very impressed. I actually brought it in to the office meeting to be like, "Hey guys, we need to take a look at like this is a really well thought out product, and it's really good." It can attach to your finger in a couple different ways. And it doesn't require jewelry, which is nice. There's like a way where it sticks, and then there's a way where you can actually like have it more secure with a band. The bands it comes with are really nice. The the button to turn it on and off is very responsive, and silent. I've never heard it made a noise. Like even when the dogs are away, my house is quiet, the fish tank's all full and not making noise. You you could hear a pin drop, and that button could go on and off. There's 3 different modes too, which
Yeah.
is nice. So one of them is you touch the button, it just stays on as long as the button is touched. There's another mode where you touch the button, the light goes on, and it stays on until you touch it again. And then my favorite mode is the sort of not intelligent, but automated, where you touch it, it waits for 3 seconds, it fades on, waits for 7 seconds, then fades off, which I think is great. Don't quite know how I'm gonna use it yet. I got about halfway through the tutorial, and Javier does a great job teaching. I mean, just really, really thorough on how it works, how to charge it, care and feeding of it. Uh, Not sure how I wanna use it, but I definitely see it as an accent, the same way you would with a smoke device, like being able to do things that really sort of elevate the magic. And I can't wait to add it to something. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet, but I can't wait to add it to something.
Yeah, I feel that. Did Tobias's lecture come? Can't come. No, it hasn't yet, right?
Tobias's lecture has not come out yet.
Hmm.
I don't know when that's coming out, but it's definitely like you definitely would use it with something.
Yeah, there's like to your point. There's
Mhm,
a when that. I mean, everybody's gonna want to buy that lecture when it comes out. I
mhm,
have no doubt. But there's a great use of a light gimmick as an accent
mhm,
in one of those routines that just perfectly says that illustrates what you're talking about. You know, light tricks are, and we all demonstrated them in magic shops and things, but they do have a place if you can find the right moment within a routine. Uh, that's really, really good. I saw an aerialist recently who, at the end of her routine, I can't remember if she had these lanterns on the stage at the beginning and she like blew them out or something like that. But at the
mhm,
end, she used like a I guess a D light
mhm,
or Firefly, for what do I know, to like throw the light back to the lantern.
mhm.
And it's not the main effect that she was performing, but it was like, wow, that was, it's just a great use of a really
Mhm.
a nice little
Yeah,
little gimmick. Or she was doing for real. I mean, what do I know? She
yeah.
probably had the real
Y
actual magic power to do
She
that. But
is a real witch who flies.
as a main effect,
Mhm,
don't love it. But as
mhm,
always, that like
mhm.
it always works so well.
It's the other thing is it is crazy small and crazy bright. It is I activated it accidentally in the office, and people were like, "Whoa, don't point that." It's super bright. And the battery on it is great. I mean, I fully charged it when I got it, and it charged in like a half hour. It's USB-C type, which is nice. And then I mean, I haven't plugged it back in, and I've definitely lit it up hundreds of times. So,
Light devices are fun. It's
yeah.
like you'll figure out a spot to throw it in one of your sets.
Oh, yeah.
And I like how that one has got some handling to it. I still not sure how it works to show
Mhm,
your hands completely empty and still
mhm.
make the light appear. So it sounds like a good one.
Yep, that's great. Uh then we'll talk about more about this when it comes out, but I it's a long time coming. In the Spotlight by Christopher Carter is
Yeah, I mean that could be out any moment, right? I mean we're recording this now. Maybe by the time people hear it, it's out,
yeah.
right?
Like Christopher has posted about it on Facebook, so it's the I've seen copies of the book. I was thumbing through it the other day. Some great mentalism in there. Uh, and the funny thing about it is, and he says this in the demo when it comes that people will see when it comes out is you can perform everything in the book with stuff that you could buy at Staples or Walmart. I mean, it's hard hitting mentalism with stuff that you could just hop on a plane with nothing but the clothes on your back, show up somewhere and do everything in that book. It's great.
This book is, like you said, long time coming. I know a lot of people are excited about this book. I mean, a lot of us were just introduced to Christopher Carter during during the COVID era,
Mhm.
mainly because he didn't tip any of his work until then. I think it might have been a like he didn't know what the future was going to hold. So here, let me give this stuff out there. I don't know what his intentions were, but everybody had their eyes open on how good Christopher Carter's material was. We had heard, but we didn't actually know. It's just because it's a guy that was out there for decades just grinding and putting in the work, and the result was portable,
Yeah.
routines that can be done anywhere with anything from a store that you could just pick up. Obviously, you want your props, but at the same time, he figured it out because he all
Mhm.
he'd done is a bunch of colleges and corporate shows for forever. So
Mhm.
he figured it out. But at
Yeah.
the same time, his love of mentalism and being a good mentalist, the routines just became super strong and
Yeah.
practical, easy for anybody to do. So the stuff that you're going to find in this book are not just like hundreds, these are thousands and thousands of timers.
Mhm.
Everything's been figured out.
Yeah.
And specifically, he's got work on anytime anything on the Q&A comes up,
Yeah.
everybody takes notice because there's just not a whole lot of great resources for it. And it's so hard to teach, not because it's difficult, but it's really so personalized to the
Mhm.
performer a lot of times. So his stuff on the Q&A, I think, will be highly sought after. That's one of the highlights of the book.
Mhm.
Yeah. There's so many great tricks
Yeah.
otherwise that you can just drop into your show for 5, 7, 10 minutes or whatever. There's amazing material in there, but it's not only, I think the last thing to say about it is that the material is like meant to be like, it's ready for you. You read it and you take it to the stage, right? Like it's got the performance advice from a pro there that will help you be able to take it to the stage.
He's gonna be on the podcast to talk more about the book, and literally the only thing that hasn't had him on the podcast yet is just, he's so busy and works so much that just scheduling it is tough, but, he and I are going back and forth, and we will get him on the podcast to talk about it, and so it's pretty exciting.
It's gonna be,
It's gonna be big.
I don't know what the number, like if I had to predict, put my mentalist hat
Mhm.
on here, this one will probably sell out. I don't know what the numbers are, and I'm being
Mhm.
completely honest
Mhm.
right now, but I could see this having a second print run.
Yeah.
If that's something that's we're gonna do, I'm not even sure, but
Mhm.
I would just, if you have interest, get it
Mhm.
because I do think it will. This one's gonna move
Yeah.
uh, a lot.
Yeah, and it's an exciting, like, second book in this new era of Penguin Publishing because it's not a hermetic thing. I mean, this is the Craig Petty book was the first one we did, and now In the Spotlight's coming out, and there's other books that are in progress right now that are
I
outs
mean, I'm calling book of the year on this one right here. Like,
Oh,
there's
100%.
other things coming out,
Yeah.
and maybe I'm wrong, but this one,
Mhm.
I just feel like there's a hunger for this book, and it will deliver because the
Mhm.
material that's in it is
Yeah.
second. It's so good. It's amazing.
Alright, Nick, I think it's time for me to throw it over to past me and our guest this week, professor of psychology, Dr. Richard Wiseman. So this is really fun because I've been a big fan of his for quite a while, and so he's going to talk to us about magic and psychology and all kinds of stuff, and what he's presenting at FISM. So it's a
Oh, are
sneak
we
peek.
doing a like a FISM primer at some point? Like, that's coming up, right?
Yes, that's actually one of the things that's happening right now is I'm interviewing some of the people who are going to be at FISM performing, presenting. Richard is one of them. Jason Latimer is going to be interviewed soon. So I'm going to be talking to Jason about some stuff. I've actually got that on the schedule. I was chatting with Jason yesterday. He's doing a lot with STEM education in schools and he's using magic to get kids interested in learning science, and it's pretty exciting to see what he's doing, but he's also gonna tell us about what he's gonna be doing at FISM in Italy. I'll be in the booth at FISM, and, we'll have a
My
post.
brain's like running in like, is there anything we can do to like, some sort of fun podcast thing, maybe with our listeners, or
Mhm.
like some sort of like, not to relate it to sport, but like some sort of March Madness thing where we can predict who's gonna win what? I don't know. Yeah, I'm just throwing something against the wall right now.
I love that idea. I think people should reach out to me on Instagram. It's pretty easy to find at Erik Tate, ErikTait, and
Because it
you
would
know
be fun
the competitors
to
are all up. Like,
yeah, it'd be fun to take a look at each competitor. I mean, obviously we don't know exactly what they're gonna be doing,
yeah,
but you could it'd be nice to just do that deep
mhm,
dive and
yeah.
get familiar with everybody. It'd be fun.
Well, the over on YouTube, me, Chris Hannawell, and David Newell have been posting some of our like reaction videos to some of our favorite submissions to the online, which has been fun.
Right, right, right.
Yeah, so
I mean,
listeners
maybe at the
should look.
least we could do that or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. You know what? You and I should like go through the. I know I have to watch the Oz Perlman on Joe
Oh,
Rogan
yeah.
so that we can talk about it. I'm gonna have time to do that this week, and then we should also just sort of like go through the competitors and talk about what we know.
Sounds
So,
good.
all right. See you next week, Nick.
See ya.
Thanks so much to Nick for being on the show. On to the main event. Professor Richard Wiseman is a researcher, teacher, public educator, and magician from the UK who has published over 100 academic papers examining the psychology of magic and illusion, deception, luck, and self-development. He's also created psychology-based YouTube videos that have amassed over 800 million views. This July, he's set to lecture, perform, and host interviews at FISM in Italy. I grabbed some of his time via Zoom, and now you get to join our conversation. Professor Richard Wiseman, thank you so much for joining me here on the Penguin Magic Podcast. I'm so excited to meet you because we read information about you when I was studying psychology in university.
You make me feel old.
But it's I mean, you're like one of the most quoted and cited working psychologists in the UK these days, if I'm not mistaken.
Something like that. Yes, yeah. I've done a lot of stuff over the years, so it tends to get cited in all sorts of places. So I apologize if I ruined your undergraduate years in psychology. I'm so sorry, so
No.
sorry.
But the real reason we have you here today is you are going to be presenting and performing at FISM in Italy in just a few weeks. Am I
I
mistaken?
hope so. Yes, unless there's been some huge mistake or it's a massive practical joke, either of those things. But otherwise, all being well, I will be there in Turin at the amazing FISM meeting, doing lots and lots of things. I
What?
kept saying, Walter kept on asking, I kept saying yes. I'm doing most of FISM. There's about an hour where I'm not doing anything at FISM. The rest of the time, it's just me, solid, back to back.
That is incredible. You don't appear at magic conventions very often, do you?
Not very much. I've done Magic Live a couple of times. Love Stan's event out there. Did the London Magic Society for Andy Nyman and Preston, but not very much. No, no, it's a rare appearance.
What is it that attendees can expect from you at FISM, as much as you can reveal without?
I can reveal everything. I can
Great.
reveal absolutely everything. I can reveal I've got no idea what I'll be doing at FISM. No, no, no. I will be talking, I'll be giving a lecture about psychology and magic, and particularly the innovative ways of presenting magic. I've done quite a few one-person shows over the years, so I'll be talking about some of them. Then I'll be doing one of those one-person shows the following day. And I can't talk very much about that. I think that is a bit of a surprise, but it's a very unusual show. It's one that I've performed a few times around the world. We're doing back-to-back performances of that. So that'll be quite fun. And then I'm interviewing four dear friends of mine over the course of the next 4 days. So that will be wonderful.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see your presentation, not just your lecture, but also your show, because I think that one of the most fascinating things about you is you keep bringing this beautiful intersection of magic and psychology to the public in a way that is, I mean, you are kind of one of the great science communicators of our time. And
I think so. Certainly in my own mind, I'm possibly the greatest science communicator of our time. Unfortunately, in the real world, many people don't share that opinion. But as long as I don't ask them their opinion, I can continue to believe that. So that's good. But I know I do a lot of talks. for the public. And anyone who has seen my talks will know that it's always different, fresh, new material every time. I never use the same material again and again. Just kidding. I always do that. Yes, but I will be talking. I mean, I've been to magic since I was 8. I mean, magic sort of runs through my entire life. And I love magic, hate magic. I, like all of us, have this rather weird relationship with it. Some magicians, upset me and make my toes curl and bring tears to my eyes for all the wrong reasons. And other magicians I adore. It will be a celebration of what I love about magic. And it's not so much about the psychology of magic. It's not really how magicians fool people. That doesn't interest me very much. It's about innovative ways of presenting magic, getting people excited about what it is that we do, that doesn't involve, the tricks that magicians have been performing for far too long.
How did you start combining magic with presenting psychology to the sort of masses? What was that impetus?
It was, I think, Max. I think it was Max
Really?
Maven. Yeah, so I always wanted to be a professional magician. I got interested in magic when I was 8. When my grandfather showed me coin in nest of boxes. And he did this. I'd go and visit him every weekend, and I'd sign this Victorian penny, which is quite a large coin. And he'd put a sticker on it. I'd sign it. He'd make it disappear, and then it would appear in nest of boxes. It was great. And I hassled him and said, "How's this done?" Eventually, he wasn't a magician, but he knew this one trick. He said the answer's in a book, and the book's in the library. So I read all the library books, found out about the gimmick, came back to him, explained how it was done, and he gave me that gimmick. And it sits about, I don't know, 3 meters from me now. It's the most important object in my entire life, because without it, I wouldn't have got into magic. But then, about 3-4 years ago, I was going to give a talk at the Magic Circle. So I phoned up my mum and I said, "How did my granddad find out about this trick?" 'Cause he wasn't a magician, and particularly this gimmick, very nicely made. And she said, "Oh, he never used that thing." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And she said, No. He used to sign the coin every week, and he'd take the coin from the previous week and put it inside the nest of boxes." So it'd been fooling me for about 40 years. And I said, "Well, wasn't he curious about the gimmick?" And she said, yeah, he never knew what that was for. That's why he sent you to the library to find out. So it that's how I got in, that's how I got into magic.
That is the greatest how I got into magic story I've ever heard.
Oh, you're very kind. It's absolutely true, and brilliant, innovative thinking by my now deceased grandfather. So I got into magic and was convinced I was going to be a full-time magician. Did magic in Covent Garden, which is a kind of street entertainery place over here, but only for a couple of weeks. Did close-up magic when it wasn't as popular as it is sort of now, during the Magic Circle, and then went over to the castle.
Mm-hmm.
And I was at the castle when I was about 20, I think. And it was fine. It was okay. I was a comedy magician. It was all right. And it was Max, I think, that said to me, if you want to stand out from the crowd, do something different. What else have you got? And I said, well, I'm studying undergraduate psychology. And he said, well, that's what you should do, the psychology of magic. And that, I suddenly thought, oh my goodness, he's right. There's a lot of comedy magicians, but there's nobody at that point really looking seriously at the psychology of magic. So I ended up doing that. It was a comment by Max at the castle.
That's amazing. So that started you in, and then as your career in science has progressed, you continue returning back to magic to illustrate principles in really interesting ways. But what I think is fascinating is without giving away the game, like most of the time.
No, all the time. I'm very, very anti-exposure. So I've always been involved in magic. Nearly all my close friends are magicians. I've been fortunate enough to work with some quite well-known magicians. And the problem we have with the public is that we know our methods are so smart and clever and sometimes simple and so on. But if you show people how a trick's done, they just kind of go, oh, okay, what else? And they're just taking the very basic part of the method. They're not realizing the skill that's involved in that. And so I started to create some effects for YouTube where the method was more interesting than the effect. And that was the color changing card trick and a few other things we did. And they gained a massive audience. That channel's now had 800 million views. And it celebrates my love of magic because every time you find out a method, and they're methods magicians would never ever use, they're crazy methods that only work on camera or whatever. You kind of go, oh, it's really smart, it's clever. And that's really been a goal over time, is to make audiences realize that magic is a wondrous thing and it isn't just about the simple bits of elastic band or whatever it is that constitute a straightforward method.
It's really great because it's almost like you're using magic to give them permission to ask a question.
Think about how amazing our subculture is. The literature of it, the fact that people got private libraries, massive amounts of books, journals that go back to 1900 as much as science does or law does. The meetings, we have the one that's going to happen at FISM, several thousand magicians coming together. The fact that you and I, will sit up until 3 a.m. in the morning talking rubbish about tricks that we're never ever going to perform just for the fun of it. All of that incredible subculture is hidden away from the public. And in a way that it isn't with law or science or whatever. And really my work is just saying to people, look, this is astonishing stuff that magicians have done over time. They have a deep understanding of the human mind. To present magic, you have to be hopefully quite likable, because fundamentally you're lying to people and trying to get them to like you whilst lying, which normally isn't the contract at all. That's why I can't perform for my friends. If I do perform a trick and they say, how's that done? And I say, I'm not telling you, they don't remain my friends very long. So all of these things I find fascinating from a human point of view, from a psychological point of view, and the talk and my work is about celebrating that fascination, really. Plus, I just get, to hang out with some fun people and chat with them and mess around for about an hour on stage.
I will attest to the fact that magic has given me the ability to have very silly conversations about very serious things with very interesting people.
Yeah, I mean, it's astonishing. I mean, it's absolutely astonishing that the brilliant people that I know, and we all get together, and Caroline, my partner, how do you all know each other? Like, someone will arrive from Spain and you all know each other. Yeah. And what do we do? I'm what, late 50s now, and still somebody will show me a card slate that I will never ever use in my entire life, and I'll get excited about it. Or I'll say, if you bend a rubber band like this, it just sort of makes a little ping, and you can use that here. Oh my goodness! And you become 8-year-old children again. How wonderful is that? So yes, we hopefully transport audiences into this weird world where magical things happen. But you know what? We transport ourselves into this weird ecosystem of magic that actually exists. That's the most bizarre world I've ever come across. And that includes hanging out with a lot of psychologists. But it's most bizarre in a wondrous, wondrous way.
How do you find that your magical education has helped your research and informing not just the experiments that you design, but also your way of looking at the mind?
It's a very good question. I would say ever since I was an undergraduate, and the reason I got into psychology is because of magic. I read Showmanship and Presentation, which is the Edward Morris book, not the Fitzky one. Edward Morris wrote a very, very small book about showmanship and presentation. It's wonderful. And in it, he says, every magician should read How to Win Friends and Influence People, Dale Carnegie's 1930s book. My copy, which I bought when I was 18, sits over there, barely holding together because it's so old. Wonderful, wonderful stuff. And that's why I got into psychology, because I was fascinated by Carnegie. So to answer your question, any good magic trick, any good performance should be interesting for people. It should make them lean forward, not want to leave the room. And I always say, my rule is if you perform one trick and people don't say, show me another one, then stop. They don't keep on going on. They'll let you know if they want to see another one. And so crafting some kind of presentation, some kind of moment, which is interesting and astonishing, I think it's that sensibility that I then took into my psychology. Of going, how can we create experiments about things that people are interested in? Most psychology, as you'll know if you did an undergraduate degree, is really dull. I mean, psychologists have this astonishing ability to take the brilliance and the wonder of humanity and reduce it to a couple of numbers on a spreadsheet and the dullest thing in the world. So I just try, but like the talks, try to do stuff that I would find fascinating if I were in the audience.
It's interesting that is most of your work these days working in science education rather than actually designing and developing experiments and studying?
I still do quite a lot of research actually. And I've done a lot of stuff on the paranormal. So yesterday I was at quite a big science conference talking about the paranormal stuff. I'm only just come back in the house actually. So a lot of it's still doing research. But saying that, I also give a lot of public talks as well.
Is there a lot of inquiry and like scientific inquiry into the paranormal these days?
Well, less than there used to be. So I finished my undergraduate degree in psychology, and I'd got nothing to do at all. I didn't know what I was going to do. And unlike some people who've got plans, I've never had a plan in my entire life. I just sort of think, do something interesting and see what happens. And I bumped into a friend of mine in London, and I'd chosen University College London because for the worst reason ever to choose a university, which is just next to the Magic Circle. Like that was the you really shouldn't choose which university to go to because it's close to the Magic Circle, but I did. So I bumped into somebody, a friend of mine, and he said, I just saw this poster about a postdoc, which is what you do, become a doctor after you've a doctor of psychology, after you've done your undergraduate. And he said it's all about deception and magic and the paranormal. And it was a guy up in Edinburgh, professor up in Edinburgh, who was looking for a magician and psychologist to look at how psychics fake stuff. So I moved up to here, because that's where I am now, and for 4 years did stuff in the paranormal. And so lots of my friends and colleagues do that research as well. But to answer your question, it's a pretty niche area. Very, very few people doing it.
It is endlessly fascinating to me that as advanced as our culture becomes, we still have so many people who are brought in by psychics and by people claiming the paranormal stuff. I mean, years ago when I worked in the film industry, someone had me come to see a film that they had written about their house that was haunted. And I should tell you, it was a house near where the Sharon Tate murders happened. And their belief was that Sharon Tate was haunting the house, not where she was murdered, but 4 doors down. And they insisted and presented all of this evidence to me, even though it was just, what is it about the paranormal that continues to draw people in, but also continues to have people taking advantage of others using it or using the pretense of it?
I think those are 2 separate questions. I think people,
sorry,
no, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine. They're good questions. I think people love it for the same reason they love good magic, is it takes them to a world where anything is possible. Mm-hmm. And for all sorts of reasons that's easy to understand, isn't it a wonderful world to think that if you'd lost a loved one, that you can still talk to them? Yeah. Or if you're ill, somebody will magically cure you. Or you're concerned about the future, somebody can look into a crystal ball and tell you what's going to happen and remove that uncertainty. These are wondrous things. And magic, of course, is the faking of those wondrous events. And I think we can learn a lot. It's what I'm actually working on right at the moment, from looking at those paranormal events and incorporating them into magic. Not in any way, shape or form telling people they're genuine, but just taking some of the basic elements. I think there's something to be done there. So I think that's why people love it. Can they then be exploited because of those beliefs? Absolutely. Who does some of that exploitation? Magicians who realize that, doing a tarot card reading is probably more psychologically powerful than any card trick they'll ever do, and much easier. And it is the dark side of magic. It is easy for us to exploit people who've got those kind of beliefs, and we need to fight that possibility. We I think, need to, yes, be doing magic for people, but never telling them it's real. Never. Well, what right have we got to exert any kind of influence over somebody else's life or decisions? We have no right to do that. And some magicians are attracted to that because it gives them a sense of power and it's relatively straightforward. I've done loads of fake seance shows, always telling people it's a fake seance. But they're always way easier than magic shows because people aren't always looking for trickery, even they know it's fake. I've seen loads of psychics, and their performances are awful because they are up against people that aren't looking for trickery. The performances at FISM will be a million times better because those people are up against audiences that are looking for tricks. So I find the whole area psychologically quite fascinating. But yeah, I think magicians need to have a moral compass above everything else, basically.
You've done extensive debunking of the paranormal with over in the UK. Are you working at all with the James Randi Educational Foundation, or is this a different path?
Well, I knew James very well, and yeah, I don't know if the Education Foundation still exists per se. It might do. Since James has died, I haven't had much to do with that side of things. I'm in the James Randi biopic about his life, documentary
That's right.
about his
Yes.
life. Yeah, Honest Liar, and I went to New York for the premiere of that, and I was with Randy, and we went into the green room. And fun enough, on the same festival, film festival, the Alice Cooper documentary was being shown. So in one half of the green room were the magicians and the skeptics, and the other half were the Alice Cooper people. And it wasn't hard to tell which was which. And then Alice Cooper saw Randy and went, "Oh my goodness," came over. And because Randy had toured with Alice Cooper.
That's right, he did.
Chopping his head off every night. And you forget Randy was sort of proper showbiz. And it was great. And I can say this because this is a magic podcast. I went in the room very early with Randy, and there were different piles of different coloured napkins. He took a green one, rolled it up, put it up his sleeve, and openly with me. Nobody else was in the room. And then the evening goes on and on and on. People asking him to do a trick. No, I'm not doing a trick. This is opening of my film. No, I'm not doing a trick. And what he was doing was waiting until he saw there was only one green napkin left. And then eventually somebody could do a trick. Oh, okay, give me a napkin. They gave him the only remaining green napkin. He tore it up and restored it. It was a miracle. I knew that he'd set that up about 2 hours beforehand. It was so great. So yeah, a big fan of Randy's work.
That that is, I am so glad that story has been recorded for posterity. That is fantastic.
Yeah, I don't think I've told it before on a podcast. So there we go. Yeah, Randy was very charismatic.
What is exciting? There seems to be more and more psychologists studying the effect of magicians on other people. I know that I've spoken to Dr. Cyril Thomas over in France, who's done some research, and then there was a book that Vanishing Ink recently published.
Yeah, that's right.
And the authors' names are escaping me at the moment, but
Gustav Kuhn is one of them.
Gustav Kuhn, yeah. And
yes.
I had him on the show to discuss that. It seems like there's more and more psychologists studying the effect of magicians on the laity. Is there any particular research that's exciting you these days in this area?
Well, some of it doesn't excite me. The work on psychology and method doesn't excite me particularly. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, most people, if you're in a restaurant having a nice time, the magician just comes up and ruins it for everyone. So I think, the idea that all magicians produce this wondrous experience, I think simply isn't true. I think the experience of magic is so odd. That notion of knowing something's impossible, yet you just saw it happen, is a very strange experience. And I am interested in what that experience, if anything, does for people in terms of opening their mind to possibilities, making them more creative. Fundamentally, I think magicians, the restaurant magic or whatever, they do two things that are really important. One is they give people some entertainment, and people's lives are very difficult. And just to be able to get them to step out of that for the moment and make them laugh or go wow or forget their problems is an astonishing honor. But second, when you have a table of people who've known each other, or they're strangers, doesn't matter, you go up, you show them something, you walk away, they've got something to talk about now. and they'll have ideas about how it's done, whether they liked you, whether they whatever. It doesn't matter. They start to bond. They start to talk about this shared experience. And I think we forget all that stuff. We think it's all about the card appearing in the wallet. Actually, I think it's more straightforward than that. I just think we entertain people. They go, that was great. Oh, we go, now we're at a table, we can talk. And now we've got those openings, start to find out about one another. So that's the sort of stuff I find interesting.
It's actually I couldn't agree more. I mean, it is much as I talk to magicians who want to provoke this sense of wonder in people, I know at the end of the day, I do restaurant magic. It is my job to make people's lives worse. And
I didn't say not all. I'm sure you're very good. It's
No.
just some.
no, but invariably it is what I hear afterwards is the server coming up and saying, "Oh, they're still talking about you. They're still talking
There we
about
go.
this effect or this effect," and it's not.
Yes.
It has very little to do with changing their worldview. It is entirely what you just discussed. As much as we want to provoke that sense of wonder, it's
Well, we want to be self-important, but
Yeah.
honestly, I think what you're doing there is far more important than provoking a sense. I'm not saying you can provoke a sense of wonder when people know it's a trick. I mean, maybe Paul Harris has written about this with astonishment and so on. Maybe occasionally under certain circumstances, I don't know. But what you're doing is far, far more important. To walk away and two people that, may not be having the greatest time in a relationship or whatever it is, now got something to talk about and they have fun and they start to bond. That's way more important. And for me, anyway.
But you often focus a lot of your research on social interactions and social
Yeah.
norms, don't you? So that
Yeah, I'm a social psychologist, so that's right. Exactly.
informing your answer quite a bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, I like people. I find people fascinating, and anything that provokes discussion, any magic performance, which means it's sticky, and you walk away and talk about it, I think that's really interesting. So at the Fringe this year, I'm in Edinburgh, so we have the big Fringe Festival. I'm performing only one show of the world's most boring card trick, where I'm urging people not to turn up, and if they do turn up, to leave because the card trick is so dull. Now, my guess is that people will remain through boring procedure just because they're being urged to leave. I might be wrong. But whatever happens, and it might be a disaster, I believe people will talk about that. I believe they'll go away and go, oh my goodness. And so anything, and this is what I'll be talking about at FISM, anything that gets people talking about magic in any way, shape or form, in other words, is innovative or new or thought-provoking, or they're just given a wonderful experience you want to talk about, is great.
I have a sneaking suspicion that your show, based on the boring card trick, is based less on your interest if they will stay and more on your deep interest in Stanley Milgram.
Yeah, well, exactly. It is all about conformity and compliance and boredom, actually, and what is boredom. And part of it is, I think I haven't written it yet, but it'll be about 10 minutes of me the first couple of minutes is just showing people a playing card, and they're going to get bored just looking at a single playing card. But then when you tell them about the history of playing cards and how they're manufactured, then people start to become interesting. And part of my argument is that anything can be interesting when you know enough about it. So it explores that. As I haven't written it yet, it might be an absolute disaster. But these are the sorts of things I'll be talking about at FISM, that I'm not going to be showing people tricks. I'll be doing this kind of stuff.
I can't wait to hear your talk at FISM. I do have one more question before we go, which is one of my favorite studies that you did was on trying to discover the world's funniest joke. Which I know you've told that joke so much that
I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you the joke.
I'm not asking you to tell me the joke.
Okay. Okay.
I would encourage our listeners to go out and look it up for themselves. But what I am interested in is, have you considered doing a similar experiment to discover the world's most fascinating or amazing card trick or coin trick?
It won't exist.
It wouldn't exist.
It won't exist. The real secret is between the coin and the back of the seat. It is the magician. So, the fact is that I think any coin trick, any card trick can be absolutely astonishing in the right hands with the right person presenting it in the right way. I don't think it's about the trick. I really think it's about somebody. I mean, first of all, just listening to people. We treat our audiences like props. You know, the number of times we get somebody up on stage, they say their name, and the magician's not even interested. They're just there to hold a bird cage or whatever it is. And yeah, I was watching some canasta footage from the 1950s, I think it was. And Canasta, the mentalist, asked someone to make a decision, choose one of 4 cards, whatever. And he instantly says, why did you choose that card? What's so interesting about that? In other words, he's interested in the person. And that's very different to most mentalism, where you just think, well, you're just there to choose something. He's interested in and so I think the world's greatest trick or whatever will be by a certain magician any magician who's interested in people rather than making a coin disappear, is my guess.
It's interesting that you can create a quantifiable system for humor, but it's more difficult to make a quantifiable system for magic.
Yeah, I mean, what would you do? I mean, with humor, you've got jokes, and that's what we did with the world's funniest joke. What would you do with magic? I suppose you could do different coin vanishes or coin tricks, but it would be so weird because it would be so sterile.
Yeah.
You know, the fact is that it's the magician that makes it funny or entertaining or silly, and there's all sorts of strategies for doing that. So yeah, I think it would be tricky. I mean, the joke thing was 25 years ago, so I probably would do it a little bit differently now. Actually, I wouldn't do it at all, is the truth of it. I mean, 25 years of people saying, tell the world's funniest joke, which if people look it up, will see it's not that funny. So, you know, at the end of lectures, tell the world's funniest joke, and you always end on a down because it's not that funny. So
I think it's less, to me, it's less that it's whether it's the world's funniest joke, but it's the endeavor to discover it. And what drove that, and then asking that question related to magic gets you thinking about how you are quantifying these things in a sort of, you know, experimental situation. And the fact that you look at it now and say you can't quantify magic because the quantifiable thing is not quantifiable because it's not related to it is, to me, is what I find is fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, maybe because I understand about the complexities of magic in a way that I don't understand the complexities of humor. Maybe my answer now would be about the comedian rather than the joke. So, yeah, I suppose magic isn't quite as discreet as a joke in that quite the same way.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you'd find out whether people actually like something or not. But yeah, there's complexity to magic. So yeah, so I'll be at FISM. I'm doing 4 interviews. I'm doing talking to Arturo Brachetti, who's incredible, amazing. He was in Edinburgh with his show in last August, and so I'll be interviewing him. Luis de Matos, very good friend of mine. So I have the pleasure speaking to him 50 minutes. Matt King, I'm going to be interviewing as well, and then Stephen Frayne. So it's an incredible lineup. And that's what I say is the joy of magic is that I get to spend all this time with my friends and just chat with them, and hopefully everyone will come along and have a good time.
And we're going to see some fantastic competitors performing some of the best magic in the world.
Yes, I would not be one of them. I've been asked not to enter the competition for 2 reasons. I thought it wouldn't be fair on people because I'm so good, but it turns out that it wouldn't be fair on the audience because I'm absolutely dreadful. So I will not be in the competitions.
Oh, well, I cannot wait to see your talk and hear your interviews and see your show. Richard Wiseman, thanks so much for joining us here on the Penguin Magic Podcast.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks so much to Richard Wiseman for being on the show, and thanks to you for listening. FISM is fast approaching. Competitors are finalizing their acts, and we have some exciting interviews coming up with the incredible talent that is appearing in Torino. I'm going to be bringing you up-to-date coverage live from FISM itself and let you know how our North American team does. It's a pretty exciting time in magic. As always, we're a weekly podcast, so be sure to like and subscribe, as well as share your favorite episodes on the social media platform that people are wishing you a happy 40th birthday on. If you wanted to reach out to me about anything on this week's show, you should probably wait until after my birthday. It's going to be a weird one this year. I'm sorry I don't have any fun jokes this week. I'm not going to get into any more details. Just know it's going to be strange. But if turning 40 isn't your cup of tea, you can always hit me up on Instagram at Erik Tait. That's at ERIKTAIT. From me and everyone else here at the P3 Magic Studios, practice, practice, perform.